sit in my room and just listen to whatever music I felt like listening to and curling up into a little corner.
I was a very social, outgoing person. I was very happy. I never ever thought I would have a mental illness.
Thousands of people suffer from anxiety disorders each and every day. They range from the young to the elderly and come from all walks of life. They range from general anxiety, social anxiety, phobias, post-traumatic stress disorder, and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Hi, I'm Crystal, and today we're going to take a look at 3 people's lives with one or more of these anxiety disorders.
I don't know, you get really anxious about tests to the point where you can't take them because you're too worried about it.
Every psychiatrist and psychologist I've ever seen is like, alrighty then, you've got problems. One of them is post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, yay.
My OCD was mostly compulsive worrying with some checking compulsions and things like that. I've had social anxiety disorder or whatever, social anxiety, for I guess about 10 years now.
Probably at least 3 years.
4 years ago, on April 27th, my grandfather died. And that was like one of the most traumatic experiences of my life.
I used to get panic attacks on a consistent basis, like 3 or 4 times in a week. I'd break down and I'd cry and have to find ways to calm myself down.
It's a bad time to have anything sharp near me, because I'll either damage myself or someone else. The last time I went into a really bad manic phase, I got these 16 scars of a box cutter that I use on myself, and it was insane. A couple of my friends were so incredibly worried that they almost had to tackle me to get the box cutter out of my hand. My freshman year of high school, I was still kind of in a really deep depression, and so I attempted suicide 4 times in like less than 2 months.
Part of OCD is also checking. Like, I would leave the kitchen and think the stove had been turned off, and then a minute or 2 later I'd start to worry that I hadn't turned the stove off and that the house was going to burn down. So I would come back out and check the stove, and I'd go back in my room, and then 2 minutes later I'd be worried again, and I would come back out and check the stove again, and it would just go on and on and on. I mean, it just totally took over my life. And it just got to the point where I would feel so self-conscious that I almost couldn't think straight. And my heart would kind of pound, and I'd get a lot of nervous tension in my face, and I started worrying about how nervous I looked.
There's a lot of biting of the nails and tearing up of the cuticles.
I was a rock climbing instructor. I used to race sailboats. I had lots of friends. I lived in group houses like this with people that, you know, they're such good friends, you almost feel like they're your family. You just love them. And I lost a lot of friends, not because they left me, but because I left them.
Like, I started smoking cigarettes down by the creek. It was just the time that I could have for myself. But it was like, this was the only thing that could get me to calm down.
I'm a lot more susceptible to the flu when I get depressed.
OCD, once it gets going, even if it has biological roots and even if trauma can also get it going, that it really has an addictive quality to it. It becomes like an addiction. I came across somebody who had started a network of support groups for people with OCD anxiety. And he told me that if I got involved with starting support groups, if I actually started a support group, that it would get rid of my OCD problem. And it worked. And by working with other people that have social anxiety, my anxiety has dropped by about 3/4.
Energy work definitely helps. I feel a lot more centered and a lot happier after I have it done and my energy's balanced out.
A friend of mine got me a job at a holistic health retreat up in upstate New York. It's called the Omega Institute. And I went up there and I learned about meditation, particularly learned about Buddhist meditation. And about 3 weeks after being there, my OCD completely went away for the first time ever. Someone who's anxious is trying so hard not to be anxious that they get more anxious. It's a lot like stuttering, where if somebody gets worried about stuttering and they try really hard not to, they stutter more. If you have a friend who's stuttering, what you would naturally want to do for them is you ignore their stuttering and keep relating to them as a person. The same thing happens with anxiety. If someone's really anxious, if you focus on their anxiety and start relating to them as just an anxious person, they'll get more and more anxious. But if you accept them for who they are and just look past that and just keep talking to them and just ignore the nervousness, usually after a while they'll get less and less nervous.
If they can find a way to equalize the energies, that really helps, and I'll see them again.
If I'm like really in the middle of a panic attack, I can't talk because I'm crying and I'm shaking too bad. And
like if you see somebody else having a panic attack, let them know that you're there.
try and communicate with them to see what they want.
Just try to have a general understanding that a lot of times when people are nervous, it doesn't mean that they're psychos or something. They could just be anxious.
Even though anxiety disorders are difficult to deal with, you as a massage therapist can make a difference.
Stupid sun woke me up.